Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Look, let me tell y'all straight away, first off, that when it comes down to double standards, we need some more of them. We need double standards. Matter of fact, we need quadruple standards. Before you might think that I'm really going hard, let me start by, first, let me get something out the way. Then I'll explain the militancy of the double or even quadruple standards, the levels of militancy to this. First, I'm going to thank everybody that came through on Cash App yesterday during that premiere. You know who you are. I said your names in the chat during the premiere. And since that time, Senor Coleman, Malcontent, and A. Mayo have also come through. Shouts out to you from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind. What you have done is to enable more maintenance to be paid to the business. And the other thing, too, is that you have allowed, you have furthered and gotten me closer to the process of helping an SYSBM Muslim brother to adjust in the future, inshallah. I'm not only doing this because I can't do it myself. I could do it myself. It would just take a hell of a lot longer to do it. But I'm also doing this so that we can look at each other and say, you know what, the BMPTs help each other out. The Passport Bros do help each other out. The SYSBM do help each other out. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to say that. I want you to be able to say that, more importantly. And you can only pay it forward. We do this and become successful enough, eventually we will be able to start issuing our own souvenir passports. Souvenir. For each other's identification more than anything else. But then there may come a day where if we play our cards right, there could come a time when governments start to say, well, we will take these passports, because there's going to come a day when the U.S. passport ain't going to be much. But what if there's a BMTP, Black Male Traveler Passport? And it can only be issued by a central committee of BMPTs, Black Male Passport Travelers, with endorsements on it, with endorsements on it. Which type of BMPT are you? Are you Passport Bro? Are you SYSBM? Are you IBMOR? Another may pop up later. It could get to that point. So let me now go on to talk about a double standard, and I'm going to use the Cash App as one. Thanks to those of you who I've mentioned for coming through on the Cash App. I ask others of you not to send in one large sum per individual, but I'm asking most of you to send in small because the sound is addictive. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. I don't know if I hit the pause button in time enough. But the sound is addictive and it is motivating. And more importantly, today I've heard it. And I can't thank you enough. I was in a meeting because we don't have morning classes today when the last one came through, and that's from Mr. Mayo. Thank you so much. I didn't respond or reply right off the bat, only because they didn't blame me for the notification on the phone, but they said to us, don't look at the phones for a little bit. Focus on what we're telling you. And so I did. And that helped. Thank you. Now I'm going to say this about the double standard, or maybe even a quadruple standard later. About the double standard, listen, when I mention the Cash App, that is okay for me to do because, well, I'm willing to earn it and benefit you in real life in some way, form, or fashion. So that's the first thing. The second thing to understand about that is that it is not okay when someone like Shabri Rawls gets up and asks for any kind of support. It is not okay when any Western woman, period, gets up and says, send me that, unless she is saying, I'm only going to ask one man, but in exchange, I'm going to submit exclusively to that one man. And I'm going to do the traditional things. And that includes either laying back or bending over, whichever one he says. And that's, on the bed or the kitchen counter. So I'm talking about more than just them draws, but I'm going to always bring it back to submissive sexual access, not just sexual access, but submissive sexual access. And not because I hate women and because I'm misogynistic, but because, damn it, that's the part of the package. And it's even important to people's health, men's and women's. So that's why I'm going to mention that. I'm going to mention it because the misandrist doesn't like it. She needs to hear that. So, that being said, that's just one example of a double standard about which we must have, and it's a militant double standard. It's mean. It's doesn't sound very welcoming, but it's still absolutely necessary. There's more. Something else going on too. A next level of militancy regarding these double standards is when you start to say, okay, not only do I have this double standard, but in addition to I have this double standard, something else at play too, and that is, you know what, damn it, I don't care that it's unfair. But the next level of militancy beyond that is when you come to understand and you say sincerely that this double standard is actually fair. So why am I sitting up telling you that if I mention Cash App, please punch the Cash App button at any time during the Jet Black Airways flight or at the end as you were exiting the Jet Black aircraft on your way out? That's fine, because one, I don't want any of you, and I'm not asking any of you to stress yourselves or stretch yourselves. I'm actually asking you to not do so. I'd much rather that it be the bulk of you sitting in something small, because the sound would come through more often. I'm inspired. But also, it is unfair when someone like Shabri Rawls or Cynthia G or any of them that even so much as want to hold black men accountable start asking why. Because as I've stated, for everything that we should be held accountable, it falls under the umbrella of being too mother cuss word easy. We're not the bad communicators like Shabri Rawls said. It ain't us. I mean, we do have communication problems, I'm not gonna lie, but the issues we have with communication are not like what she's thinking. We don't listen to them and only hear the absolute worst that could possibly be meant by what they said. That's not us. So what you're saying is whatever's not favorable to you or whatever is wrong with you or whatever I can say that you're saying that makes it wrong with you. No, we're not the ones doing that. That's them. They're doing that. You all saw when Phil Scott showed us that video of that man whose wife took $22,000 and put it in her own account to stash away because I need to make sure I'm good if you leave me. What? If you leave, how about this? Don't provoke a reason to leave. How about first that? Because this is a way to provoke him to leave. What you gonna do about it now? That right there, when anybody black says to somebody in a position of less power, what you gonna do about it? We ought to make that a capital punishment, a capital offense, if you can prove someone said it. And if they were in a position of power over the other one when they said it, what you gonna do? Because that pretty much means that's pretty much nigga speak for I can do that because you can't stop me, and that alone makes it right for me to do this because might makes right. That also is a way, indirectly, that's something coming from white supremacy. Because the reason the black folks started saying, what you gonna do about it, is because Master used to say, or night riders and lynchers used to say, we're doing this because you can't do a damn thing about it, N-word. So we got it from them. Or that ethos, that way of thinking is something that we got from them. So I'm going to go ahead and state to you this. We need to be militant about the double standards that we know are correct and deserved, and for which we don't owe an apology. Don't apologize for those. have those double standards. It's simple. We're right, they're wrong. We ain't always right, but usually we're right. A lot of times they're wrong. A lot of times that's the case. Secondly, we got to understand too that frankly, you know what it is? The next point I wanted to make is that they're detractors. And shout out to Average Man Unplugged, to Rome. I don't know if that guy that was talking, that bald-headed, cone-head dude that had kind of an American, kind of a British accent mixed in together, that was talking specifically and only about women. But when he got to the point about being failures in society and going over there, first off, let me say something about that dude. That dude is obviously living in a Western country. I don't know where he's actually from. I don't care, but he's living in a Western country. So what he's really saying in a nutshell is nothing other than just, okay, the West was right. And the way that the Western women have behaved is also correct. And so if they say you're losers just because they say you are. So don't come over here and actually win when it comes to women, because they will appreciate you. Don't sit up and say that everything we did was wrong and misogynistic. No, brother. The people that said that you were wrong and misogynistic were the Western women that you were extolling as being right for saying that the average normal man in the West is a loser. That's the first thing you got to understand. Those are two different groups of people. And if you think that that Western woman is any kind of right at all, then why don't you go ahead and use her to replace the traditional women you're talking about? We're capable of stealing from you. We can't steal women, sir, because we don't see women as non-human objects. We're actually sick and tired of Western women objectifying themselves. While they tell us not to do it, they turn in and objectify themselves. We got sick of stuff like that. That's what bothered us. We're tired of them objectifying themselves. We don't see your women as objects, sir. And I'm being nice calling you sir. You hypocritical dickhead. Now, if you would talk for any part in which you might have been talking about something other than just the women, I'm not going to address that, just in case. But specifically where you were talking about Western men finding non-Western and traditional women and being with him, let me explain this to you. If you really care about those traditional women and the traditionality of the traditional women from traditional parts of the globe, then you should have realized that we are actually on the same side. We tend to agree you raised them correctly, and we don't mind returning the favor because we were raised, generally speaking, to treat women well, which is the mother cuss word reason that many of the Western women have decided that we were losers in the first place. They'll take the good treatment as long as they can divorce us from our resources after that, and they never need to submit in the meantime. As a matter of fact, as long as they can defy us instead of submit. That is where, that's what you've needed to realize. That's what we've been looking at you to realize and understand. Or I say you, I mean plural you in general. You've not been willing to do that. Instead, you want to sit up and say, well, you guys have lost. And you know what? You're taking the side of the non-traditional women. And so when you say, well, what are we going to replace them with? Sir, there really aren't enough of us yet. The most of us that could be coming out of the United States, which is the most populated Western nation, as far as I can remember, the highest number of us that there could be is the adult male population of the West. And really, let me tell you about passport bros. Don't forget, passport Joes are the white ones. They may like calling themselves passport bros. I don't think they mean anything insulting by it, but passport bros are the black ones. We ain't, black men ain't but 6% of the U.S. population. What is 6% of about 3.5 million? You do the math. I mean, I know it's actually, I know it's between 18 and 24 million. I know that. But how many traditional adult women are there on the planet? Now, if you're talking about the white Westerners, the passport Joes, my question is, since they've been around so much mother cuss word longer, though not necessarily in large numbers, but they've been around for so much mother cuss word longer. I mean, they're older than they've been around longer than their name has been around. Then the question I need to ask you, sir, is Father, what did you not have a mother cuss word thing to say about them? Why are we just now hearing from you? You don't realize what you said. You're not only saying we can't compete with the men that are losers in the Western world, you're also saying we can't compete with black Western men who are supposed to be, according to the system, the biggest losers. So you really made yourself look bad. And I'm sitting up looking and saying, well, if you're a traditional man, I'm actually on your side. So you're being a worse ally to yourself than I would have been to you. Let me tell you about double standards. It's okay for us to go over there and match up with the traditional women that like us because we ain't looking for the ones that don't anyway. That defeats the purpose. What we're looking for are the ones who are going to listen to us even if their will is different. That's what we're looking for, not the ones that don't want us. But it is okay for us to do that. And I am not going to promote a double standard when I say that it is okay for you to go and get the Western woman as long as you know what the hell that Western woman is, what makes her different, and you still want her. And she wants you. It makes it okay. This is not a situation in which I'm promoting a double standard, although I have a right to. I'm not. I am also going to tell you this. It is perfectly okay, perfectly fine for us who Western women dog out to go abroad and get with traditional women. It is not okay for the men that you want to sit up and say are winners to go and dog out your traditional women. It is not okay for that to be the case. Those men who were specifically picked by the wicked witches of the West for their irresponsibility need to stay with the wicked witches of the West and pay the bill that these wicked witches of the West are eventually going to start presenting to some man nearby and demanding be paid. Those men need to be stuck where they are in the West. And if governments are going to tax men to pay for the bad decisions of women, they're the ones who need to be taxed to pay for it, not us. Because they are the bad decisions of the women. Well, yeah, I'm just going to run through this one and that one and that one and that one. And I'm going to lie to them if that's what it takes to get into panties. And I'm going to break their hearts. And some of us, not many, but some of us are actually going to get them pregnant and not be there. And if we do stay for the baby, she's going to drive us away anyway, because that's what the point was. But we're going to be those bad decisions and we're going to brag about it and then say that you're just a loser because she doesn't want you. Even though she's broken in the first goddamn place. No, we have the right to go over there and match with the traditional ladies that want us on an individual level. And those guys don't have a right to follow us to do the same thing. You have a right to match with the traditional women that want you. You have that right. You even have the right to go and decide to replace us with the non-traditional wicked witches of the West that didn't want us. If you want to be our replacement over there, feel free to do so. You have a right, but we're actually willing to tell you why you don't want to do it. Because you see, we, sir, are willing to go to these lands, not go back to the West and have our progeny be absorbed by your populations. All we ask is that you not screw it up for future generations or let the wicked witches of the West follow us to your lands and screw it up for the future generations. Because we're either going to win this thing together or we're going to lose together. And if anything, sir, and others like you, you might need to understand that it's in our best interest to actually team up against the wicked witches of the West for their misandry and their militant feminism as they come and chase us down, because they're about to start doing that. They're already starting. Following behind us. They're trying to be slick. They're not doing it in terribly large numbers every day. And they're not going to every single destination to which we go, but they're going to some of the nicer ones. And they're posted up and they're watching and they're surveilling and they're trying to slip in little seeds and ideas that are subversive to the very family unit in traditional lands. That's what they're trying to do. They've already started. How long it'll take them, I don't know. That's up to the women. But I can tell you this, you need to know, sir, that what y'all need to do. And you got brothers over there in your whatever traditional land from which you originally come. You got brothers over there that are learning these things that I'm about to tell you. Treat your ladies well. Some traditional men do, some don't. It varies from person to person, not only from culture to culture, but person to person. Most men here don't want to abuse women, even in Saudi. But they ain't gonna take no crap off of them. Treat them well. Be responsible to them. These things tend to go hand in hand anyway. I mean, most men just aren't looking to be irresponsible and mistreat the women. But by the same token, do not accept that they have social media accounts about what you don't know, unless they take care of their own mother cuss word selves and they don't ask no man for nothing. Make and tell them from a young age that there are two routes for them to go. How much they earn does not, that there are two routes for them to go, two ways, whether they work or not, two ways for them to go. They can lean on a man that should be taking care of them, but they must also listen to that man. It doesn't mean they can't discuss or share gainful information, but it does mean that they must listen to that man when he gives the final ruling, because they lean on him. If he's the one responsible for them, he gets to tell her what to do in the final run after she shares gainful information. That's one way to go. And that eventually should be a husband. The other way for her to go is that if she insists on not listening to no man, then that means she takes care of her mother cuss word self. She does not come to her brother for support. She does not come to her dad for support. She does not have a husband to support her. And if she needs to scratch that itch without the husband, then she takes whatever the consequences are that are awaiting for her if she gets proven to be doing such. And she is batting practice for those men that she chooses to take to her bed. And that the traditional women who still don't want virgin men will have her to thank for these men not being virgins. And she needs to understand that sexually speaking, that's her role. She either must be celibate or she's batting practice if she's not going to go the submissive wife route, because we already know what happens when they go the non-submissive wife route. Oh, I want to be a married woman, but I don't want to be submissive and have to listen. We know how that works. The men usually are the ones that get surprised when she asks for the divorce. That's them. Or he listened to me. He did what I said. This is why we have some of the double standards that we have. When it comes to double standards, what I'm going to point out to everybody, and I've said this before, is that the double standards that we have are actually upheld by the women more so than they are by the men. It's the women that don't want virgin men. Even virgin women don't want virgin men. That's that double standard. They are more staunch about that than we men are about demanding a woman be a virgin. We're not really that demanding of that compared to how demanding women are that a man not be a virgin. Men like to be a woman's first, but women hate to be a man's first and will refuse. And would rather wait in line to let a non-virgin man take a turn with them than they would to actually go and be a man's first, in or outside of a marriage. They don't want to be a man's first and will do a lot to avoid it. That's their double standard, not men's. You got many of men who are virgins, but they will marry a woman that's not a virgin if she was married before, especially if she was a widow, even in traditional areas. One of my play nephews did that. She was a widow. He married a woman that whose first husband died like 3 months after they got married. Died in a car accident. You know how these Bedouins drive. Why can't the light be green? I'll just run it. Bam, dead. And if it wasn't him, somebody made that decision and killed him, but whatever the case is. Many men die here in car accidents. It's common. Used to be a lot worse. One of my students, 32, asked me a few days ago, why am I still a virgin there? It's like, bro, you're still a virgin because... No, he said, is that why I'm still a virgin? Because I was talking about the difficulty of getting married when all the families want to preserve family honor by demanding an expensive dowry. And I was like, yeah, that's why a lot of people are. That's why you are, and that's why a lot of women are. But the thing is, he didn't say not married yet. He said still a virgin. And that's because there are women here that don't want virgin men. So we should be militant about some of these double standards and even make them quadruple standards, because it's the ladies that are the most stubborn about having them in the first mother cuss word place. Myron Gaines is not worth a pile of human excrement. And even he was right about that. The women demand. I mean, he said this is why you men got to this is why you men got to smash 50 broads. He's a Muslim. He's not supposed to sit up and say that you must do it. What he was supposed to say is these women are demanding that you do it. That would have been more true. But he was right that he did include that in what he was saying. They demand that. You need to be experienced, even if I'm not. You need to make more money, even though I competed with you in the job market and in school to qualify to make more money. You still need to somehow make more. Oh yeah, I'll wear heels. And if there's a human growth supplement to take while you're in your teens and growing, I might even take some of that to grow taller. But you need to be taller than me. Hell, you know what? I'll go to the gym. But you need to lift more weights than me. Oh, but don't look at me while I'm doing it, and I'm going to stand right in front of you. That's what needs to happen. They're sitting up and it is the wicked witch of the West that is sitting up and saying, I'm going to compete with you in every metric in which I demand you exceed me in order for you to qualify. But what I'm going to do is compete against you, trying to disqualify you the whole mother cuss word time. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way up until I done hit the damn wall. And even when I hit the wall and fertility is no longer, youth and fertility are gone, I'm still going to have the attitude that I had when I was young and fertile. I'm not even going to adjust anything to compensate for the youth and fertility I squandered. So yeah, we need these double standards. There are double standards I don't like, but they're necessary. I don't think it's okay for men or women to just fornicate. I don't think that's all right. But understand this, it's still worse when women do it, even though in front of God it is the same, and I agree. He owns us, so if he says it's the same in front of him, I tend to agree. But in front of other people, no, it is. The women sit up and say that it's worse when they do it. Because they sexually reward men who other women have already slept with whom other women have already slept. Let me say that in, correct English. Sorry about that. They're the ones sitting up and saying, well, I'm going to sexually reward this man with my box because some other chick gave him some box. And she may not even know it. Consciously. Oh, well, he looks good, he fine and all that, but I don't smell another woman on him. So nah, never mind. Stop and think about that. If anything, is, if anything, the biggest limit to genetic variation amongst human beings, which is good for most organisms in general, most species, I should say, is the choices of the wicked witches of the West, their proclivity to line up to share the same few dudes. And they're the main ones that do this, and they want to sit up and say it's biological. When they finally get too old to hide this and lie about it, well, it's nature and it's biology and you can't negotiate that. Why the hell is it that when you go into traditional areas, they're not that damn bad about it? Now we are in a debate about if it's biology that is limited by culture, or if it's the lack of culture and it's now biology. Is it that the wicked witches of the West are acculturated to do this? Or is it that the traditional women are acculturated to not do this and stopped by it? Which one is it? Now we can sit up and debate about that. Why have the debate? Go where they're not doing this. Reward the ones that are not doing this. And this is what I've been telling men to do. There are good and well-behaved traditional women in other parts of the world. You are a reward. You are a prize if you know how to treat ladies. And most of you know how to treat people in general, men and women. You're just not very experienced with women. And that doesn't make anything wrong with you. And one of the other reasons why we need these double standards is because the wicked witches of the West engage in gaslighting and lying. It ain't a difference of opinion. They're lying. And they know they're lying. And they're proud of their lies. And that's what the problem is. They're lying, and they know they're lying, and they're proud of their lies, and they got the nerve to sit up and say, well, you got double standards. And hell, the propaganda now is so obvious, you realize now you can't even turn the TV on and see a normal representation of masculine men unless their masculinity comes with evil. Or maybe in a better case, stupidity and ineptitude. You are pretty much being told that the reward for being a good and responsible man must be genetic dead ends, genetic extinction at your individual level. And they want to scream double standards. Remember, be militant about some of these double standards to the point you make them quadruple standards, because at the end, they did the gaslighting and they insisted on the damn double standards. They just didn't want to ever find out it might benefit you. That's all. Nothing else. You're not angry, gentlemen. Red pill rage, if you had it or if you still have it, is not something that exists because you're just bitter because you didn't get picked. Red pill rage comes about because you were mother cuss word lied to. It was one of the biggest conspiracies in history. And as a matter of fact, today's generations of black men, those of us that are in our damn near 50s and younger, were more affected by this conspiracy on the part of the wicked witches of the West, including Sapphire, than we were by COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO had its effects on our daily lives even now. It did. But the biggest effect on us and on our DNA has actually been by this other conspiracy on a part of the Western sister, because she wanted to be like Miss Anne and live out the myth of white womanhood. And that's why you were justified when you feel red pill rage. It should not control you. It absolutely should not. But you should listen to that rage talk and tell you. Because if you listen to the rage, don't just obey it blindly. But if you listen to the rage, it will help you to articulate why the cuss word you were angry to begin with and what to avoid. If you don't, you will walk into the exact same goddamn cycle, and you will breed and conceive the next generation that would be used for the same things as you. No, It's bad enough that the sins of the father do go to revisit the kids. That's bad enough. But you know what? The only thing that could be worse than that is when it's the sins of somebody else's father that comes to visit a child. And right now, that's what we're going to be facing. It ain't going the next generation ain't going to be your babies anyway. Might as well not even pretend that they are. And I might as well not give her an opportunity to pretend that they are. That's another talk for another day, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. Yeah, these double standards are necessary because they made them such. We just got to understand that when a double standard is right, to kick up to the maximum militancy about these double standards. That's all. That's what we need to understand. For some of them. Ain't no halfway, ain't no both of us. No, Shabri Rawls is wrong. We're right. And she was even more wrong for coming out and asking people to hit her Cash App. No, hit mine. Let's hit each other's, not hers. She was even more wrong for coming out and asking men to hit her Cash App without saying, you know what, you guys were right, we were wrong. I'm actually going to submit to one of you. If you'll be responsible and look after me and won't oppress me, I will submit. What I get out of this is getting out this poverty and in a way that's not going to put me back in it. And what you will get out of this is a submissive wife and traditional one. Since I'm not going to pay your bills, whether I work or not, I'm going to do things around the house to look after you, to make your home life easier, since I'm going to be eating up your money anyway and living under your roof. Bathing with and drinking your water and cooling myself off and heating myself up with your electricity. Since I'm going to be doing that, I'm going to look out for you in those domestic ways at home. If she's not doing that, then you know what? No, ain't nothing to talk about. Talking about some hit the Cash App. What we get out of that? And all you men that sent her any goddamn thing, I need to be ashamed of yourselves. You enabled her. Women today are strong and independent. She should have asked them. You should have been like, no. Ask them women for whom you were championing, because remember, it was some sisters, real sisters, that called her job on. They wouldn't even know men that called her job on and cost her job. Some women got outraged about that. Like, these men ain't even bad communicators. Who the heck is this? Remember that. We didn't do this. And some simp ass niggas were in her comment section talking about, we saw it, we costed you your job. It wasn't even you, dummy. Wasn't even us. Stop sending her dough. You want to help with gender issues? You could send me about $1 a piece. That's fine. You'll help someone else too. But hell, you know what? Send it to BGS. Send it to Green Gorilla. Send it to Tiger Hassan Johnson, Dr. Tiger Hassan Johnson, and not Dr. Ungawa Dashiki Tunde Johnson. That's how you really fix these gender issues. Because Tiger Hassan Johnson is actually championing your humanity as black men. Shabri Rawls is trying to make it sound like you got the communication skills of a gorilla. Dennis Sperling, thank you for extolling the concept of embracing the bad guy. Agree and magnify. Black men, you are not the bad guy. I am. And it is not because of my black blood that I'm the bad guy either. Thank you all for listening, as always. Black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because she doesn't like it. Black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. For those of you who have not already, punch the Cash App on your way out, preferably just a small sum, because Doris don't like it. Thank you for flying again with us on Jet Black Airways, where Jet Black is also a verb. Gender, justice, forever.